Good evening, you're watching Just the News. I'm Amita Balachandra. India has reported its first case of monkeypox, with Kerala issuing an alert in all 14 districts. Now, Kerala's health minister has said, and I quote, health workers are in touch with these people to get updates on their health status. If required, they will be tested for monkeypox. Isolation units will be readied in all districts. However, there is no ground for panic. End quote. Now, the health minister also added that the 35-year-old man from Kollam who was tested positive is now stable. 11 of his contacts have been put under the high risk category. The patient had returned to Kerala from the United Arab Emirates on the 12th of July and was hospitalized after showing signs of the disease. In the meantime, the Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is sending a high-level multidisciplinary team to Kerala to collaborate with the state health authorities in instituting public health measures in view of this case. The centre has also asked states to step up vigil. Monkeypox is a rare infection that is mainly spread by wild animals like rodents and primates in parts of West or Central Africa. Currently, Europe is the worst affected because of these cases. The disease causes a mild illness and can result in symptoms such as high temperature, a headache, backache, and a chicken pox-like rash. Now, the centre has urged international travelers to avoid close contact with sick people and to get in touch with a health facility if they get symptoms such as fever and rashes. And so, a list of guidelines has been issued by the centre. It's advised international passengers to avoid close contact with sick people, including those with skin lesions or genital lesions. Now, it also advised travelers to avoid touching contaminated material used by patients, such as clothing, bedding, and other items such as healthcare centres. Moving on from the story now, fact checker and Alt News co-founder Mohammad Zubair has been granted bail by a Delhi court in connection with the case over his 2018 tweet in which he allegedly hurt religious sentiments. Now, Zubair, however, will remain in jail over cases filed in Uttar Pradesh, for which he is now requested the Supreme Court to cancel cases filed against him by the Uttar Pradesh police. Moving on from this now, a Rajya Sabha secretariat has said that demonstrations, dharnas, strikes, fast or religious ceremonies by MPs will not be allowed in the precincts of Parliament. Now, this comes after the opposition had held demonstration in the last few sessions over Pegasus, farmer protests, Lakhimpur Keri incident, among others. Now, earlier, opposition leaders had raised objections to an updated list of unparliamentary words issued by the Lok Sabha Secretariat. Also, a story that's coming from Tamil Nadu, according to a report by the News Minute, a question in a history paper of Tamil Nadu's Periyar University asked students to identify a lower caste in the state. Now, the opposition has condemned this, and this is what the MCQ question said. Which one is the lower caste that belongs to Tamil Nadu? The options listed were Mahars, Nadars, Yadavas, and Harijans. In the meantime, the state higher education department has said that it will set up a committee. The Periyar University has also said the same. Meanwhile, in Andhra Pradesh, hundreds of villages along the coast of Godavari are reeling under one of the worst floods, as the swollen river has been discharging 19.05 lakh cusecs of water as of this morning. Now, there are 8 NDRF and 10 SDRF teams carrying out rescue and relief operations. In the meantime, River Krishna too has been receiving a steady flood flow with the Sri Sailam reservoir recording an inflow of 1.46 lakh cusecs as of this morning. Now, Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh has conducted an aerial survey to assess the devastation that this has caused. On to business news right now. Japanese financial holding company Nomura has lowered India's growth forecast for the current fiscal year to 4.7% from the previous estimate of 5.4%. Now, the agency has cited a fear of recession and rising interest rates for its reduced projection. Now, in India, inflation has stayed above the Reserve Bank of India's 6% upper tolerance level in 2022, with the price rise indicator touching an 8-year high of 7.79% in April. Moving on to environment news right now, thousands of people in Portugal, Spain, France, and Morocco have been evacuated from their homes as firefighters tackle wildfires caused by this week's heat wave. Now, one person has died and at least 135 people have suffered mainly minor injuries since wildfires began in Portugal last week. A state of contingency has been in effect since Sunday. Now, the heat wave has resulted in extreme temperatures of more than 45 degrees Celsius in parts of Europe and North Africa. Portugal's Institute for Sea and Atmosphere said that 13 regions had reached unprecedented temperatures on Wednesday, with a temperature of 46.3 degrees Celsius recorded in the central town of Lausa. On to international news right now, starting off with Sri Lanka. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was sworn in as the interim president of Sri Lanka hours after Speaker accepted the resignation of Godavari Rajapaksa, who is now fled to Singapore. The Speaker said that the Parliament will meet on Saturday and new president will be elected within 7 days, or as per the provision of the Constitution. In the meantime, Sri Lanka's top court today has barred the country's former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and former Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa from leaving the country until the 28th of July without permission. Now, 3 other former officials, including 2 former central bank governors, also cannot leave the country without the court's permission. Protesters also had stormed official buildings and now have vacated after the president resigned. On to sports news now. Double Olympic medalist shuttler PV Sindhu has stormed into the semi-finals and will now face her Japanese contender. However, her teammates Saina Nehwal and HS Pranoy lost in their respective events in the Singapore Open Super 500 tournament today. And one piece of good news before we wrap things up here on this bulletin. This comes in from Kerala. Kerala has now become the first and only state in the country to have its own internet service. Now, it aims to bridge the digital divide in the state, and this comes after the Kerala Fibre Optic Network Limited has received the internet service provider license from the Department of Telecommunications. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.